Ladies and gentlemen, this is the new Citroen eC3, the electric version of the recently launched C3. Now the C3 has been around only for a few months, and as promised at that time, Citroen has now brought in the electric version of the C3. The car hasn't been launched yet, but it will be in the month of February, and we are driving it right now. Now this is where we'll tell you how is it to drive, what are the changes, how much can you go on a single charge, and what are its pros and cons. So let's get started with that. But before we go ahead and tell you the details about the driving and the cabin, let me tell you a bit about its styling. In terms of styling, well, it is identical to the existing C3, not a bad thing. It's a new design, same quirky looks, smart road presence. The difference here is that the dual color options that you get are different from the regular C3. Some new paint options have been included. Beyond that, the charging socket now is placed here, whereas in a regular C3 you would have the fuel cap there. So here you have the charging socket, and you also have the E badging on the door, which again signifies that this is the electric version. But beyond that, it's got the same styling as the C3 and continues to be one of the better looking vehicles in this price segment. Alright guys, now let's get on to the driving experience first. Now before I go ahead and do that, well, if you are liking this video, then please share it, subscribe to our channel and press that little bell icon so that you can stay updated with all TOI Auto videos. Now before I go ahead and give you more information on how this drives, well, let me tell you a few changes that have been made from the C3. Now when we drove the C3 earlier, we did mention that it does have some shortcomings, like it did not have a rear wiper or a day-night adjustment for the IRVM, no automatic or electronic controls for adjusting the ORVMs, things like that, and of course no automatic gearbox. But now with this electric C3, the eC3, two of these problems have been resolved. You get, thankfully, a day-night adjustment for the IRVM, and because this is electric, well, the problem of automatic also has been solved. Apart from that, the cabin is exactly the same as the C3, no changes, the same layout, the same amount of space, the same dashboard. So yeah, I mean, it's all the same, and that means you get a spacious cabin. I mean, the C3 always was good in terms of cabin space and comfort from the seats. So all of that continues, you just get the added convenience of the automatic. Now let's talk about the powertrain. Well, it's got a 29.2 kilowatt hour lithium ion battery. It's an LFP battery. Surprisingly, it's only air cooled. It's not liquid cooled. I think that is probably in interest of cost saving. So yeah, I mean, I don't think there's going to be a major issue. Now LFP batteries in general are, well, safer than NMC. I mean, it's not a bad thing that it does not have liquid cooling. It should be able to handle the heat. Citroen says that they have tested the vehicle extensively, and since this is a platform that was made to handle electric right from the start, they have factored in all of these things and they've tested it in the heat across India, and they do not see any issues. So, well, if you're wondering that without liquid cooling, is it more prone to catching fire, I think that shouldn't be the case. In terms of power, well, this comes with 57 PS of power, 143 Newton meters of torque. I know it doesn't sound much, and when you're on the go, it doesn't feel much as well. But that doesn't mean that it's slow or it struggles to move. It's a small vehicle, it's compact, and for moving all of this mass, this eC3 has just about the right amount of power. So driving it in traffic or on open stretches of road isn't going to be a bothersome thing. Now keep in mind that this is a car designed for the urban environment, and your runs are going to be mostly in traffic. This is not meant for going from one city to another. So yes, keeping that in mind, I think it's fine. The power is perfectly fine. It kind of accelerates in a smooth manner because it's electric, so electric torque is available right from the word go. So that helps, that kind of makes things feel better right from the word go. There is no lag, and it doesn't struggle to reach its top speed of 107 kilometers per hour. We are on a straight right now and approaching 100. Easily gets up to 107. That's where the speed has been capped in order to ensure that the battery is not discharging at an alarmingly fast rate. Also, that ensures that the battery doesn't start overheating, because the faster you discharge a battery, it tends to heat more. And that brings me back to the point I said earlier. At just a speed of 107 kilometers per hour, well, I think the battery should be relatively safe. Now let's talk about range. Well, the company is claiming a range of 320 kilometers from a full charge. Realistically, this should give you, from what the company officials are saying and from the brief drive that we have had today, this should give you a realistic range of around 230 to 240 kilometers in the city. And I think that's not bad. It's a range. It should cover most of the requirements. So I think charging it once a week should do for most people. Which brings me to charging. Now, interestingly, Citroen has decided to not give a wall box charger with the eC3. And that is a bit strange to me, because, well, you cannot even have it as an option. And unlike many other cars, it's not built into the cost of the vehicle. Now, what this means is you will have to charge this at home using a normal 15 amp socket, which will take about 10 hours to get it from 10 to 90%. Or you can, of course, take it to a fast DC charger outside, but that is, again, you'll have to take it and charge it outside. And from what I know, well, if you're going to take it to some Tata Power charging outlet, it's going to cost you about 25 rupees, including taxes, for 1 kilowatt. So if you're going to charge this 29.2 kilowatt hour battery, you do the maths, and the cost saving that an EV offers, well, that kind of goes down significantly. So yes, that slow charging, I think, is a bit of an issue for me. It's a bit of a dampener, but let's see. The company says that most people charge the cars at home, and this should be enough because you'll only have to charge it about once in a week. Now, coming to the ride quality and handling part, well, the C3, just like the C5, was really good in terms of ride quality. The suspension setup was pretty much spot on. Now, with the eC3, please keep in mind that a lot has changed in terms of dynamics, because there's a heavy battery pack in between the axles. Now, that has been placed as low as possible, so that kind of lowers the center of gravity for the vehicle, which aids handling, but it also makes the vehicle heavier. Citroen engineers have worked really hard and have done a great job of fine-tuning that suspension to give a brilliant ride quality. So just like C3, the eC3 also offers a very good and pliant ride quality. In terms of handling, like I said, it has lower center of gravity, so you can chuck the eC3 into a series of quick corners and it wouldn't flinch. It is fun to drive. It's like a proper big cart on wheels, and well, the tires are the only thing where things could have been better, because these are low resistance or low friction tires to increase the range. So overall, yes, in terms of handling, it's a very nice and fun to drive vehicle, which should give you a good driving experience in this city. So based on the drive that we have had today on a track in controlled circumstances, I think the eC3 is definitely an impressive vehicle. It looks good, and the cabin is spacious. It gets one of the best infotainment systems at its price point, and if you look at the overall driving of the eC3, it is exactly what a buyer would want from an urban electric vehicle. It is everything that you want an urban electric vehicle to be. It's compact, it's smart, it is easy to drive. It also gets a good range. Like I said earlier, realistically 230-240 kilometers of range, which should be enough for most people for a week. In terms of charging also, well, you can put it onto a fast charger, or you can charge it from a regular 15 amp. But this is where I think there's a shortcoming with the car. There is no option of a wall box charger, which would have cut down charging time drastically. Right now, your home charging would take in excess of 10 hours. So that is the only sort of an improvement area that I see for this vehicle. But beyond that, I think the Citroen eC3 is a brilliantly packaged vehicle, and if the company can manage to price it comparatively, it has the potential to take electric mobility to a lot of Indians in the mass segment and give Citroen the kind of numbers they have been looking for in India, and the kind of numbers that can justify business in a huge market such as India.